I remember the exact moment I told my cousin. I can't keep this inside anymore, I said. My hands trembling, my voice was barely above a whisper, but it felt like screaming inside. They looked at me, really looked at me. I don't set believe you, they said. The words didn't just sting. They cut deep, cold, sharp, like someone had taken a knife to my chest and twisted it. Wait, what? I choked out. I sumped telling the truth. Everything happened exactly like I said. They shrugged, like my words were nothing. I mean, come on, you sir exaggerating. Are you sure you sir remembering this right? Their smirk, that damn smirk, it's burned into my mind. I can see it now, even as I sit here replaying that moment. Exaggerating, I repeated, voice cracking. You think I sept lying? About this? Yes, they said, almost casual, almost amused. It steps a little hard to believe. A little hard to believe? My entire life, shattered pieces of it was apparently entertainment to them. I remember staring at them, disbelief twisting into rage, into sorrow. You sert my family. I thought you said it. They laughed. That hollow, mocking laugh. Family doesn't stut mean believing everything you say. I froze, my chest tightened. I wanted to scream, to cry, to shake them until they understood, but their eyes, so cold, so unmoved, held me back. I left, ran almost out into the night, but the streets offered no comfort. Darkness doesn't care. Silence doesn't care. My cousin's disbelief followed me like a shadow. That night I sat on my bed, staring at the ceiling. I replayed every moment of the abuse in my head, every face, every word, every scream I had held in, and now this new betrayal layered over it like a heavy, suffocating blanket. I questioned myself. Did I misremember? Did I exaggerate? Maybe I was imagining things. No, no, I wasn't Stet. I could feel it, like fire under ice. That stubborn, furious part of me, that refuses to be broken twice. I realized something that night, in the quiet after the storm of my own emotions. If my cousin refuses to see the truth, I will have to make them see it. I imagined confronting them again, not with words this time, with proof, with undeniable truth. I once let you get away with this. I whispered into the darkness of my room, voice shaking but firm. You still see, you still understand, one way or another. The smirk. They think it's victory, but the fire has already started inside me, and fire always finds a way. I didn't sleep that night. I just thought, planned, felt the anger and heartbreak coiling into something sharp, something ready. And beneath it all the pain, the ache of telling someone your truth and being told it's a lie, that pain will become my guide. I stopped going to family dinners. I stopped answering calls from friends. Not because I wanted to, but because every laugh, every casual conversation, felt like a knife twisting in my gut. Are you okay? My mother asked one night, her voice soft, cautious. I'm fine, I said, looking down at my hands, tracing invisible patterns on the table. You stay or is not, she whispered. Something steps wrong. I can feel it. I shook my head. It steps nothing. Just tired, I guess. She didn't press. Not yet. But I knew she noticed. I always knew when she noticed. Inside I felt hollow. Numb, like my thoughts were underwater, slow and heavy. Every memory of my cousin's disbelief mingled with flashes of what I'd endured before. A laugh in the living room. A joke at the dinner table. A touch on my shoulder. Each one was a trigger. My stomach tightened. My chest hurt. My body screamed things my mouth couldn't say. Mom, I started once. Words caught in my throat. I wanted to tell her everything. I wanted her to know, but even saying it in my head felt like betrayal. Betrayal of my cousin. Betrayal of myself. So I stayed silent. At night, I pulled out my phone. I started recording small things, conversations, gestures, anything that felt off, anything that might prove reality, almost compulsively. Why are you recording everything? My mother asked one evening, peering over my shoulder. I don't know, I admitted, voice trembling. I just need to remember, need to have proof. She nodded slowly, not judging, just concerned. I supped him here, you know, always. I know, I whispered, but I can sit not yet, not until I know what to do. The house felt different now. Every cheerful noise felt distant, like someone else's life. I wandered through rooms without seeing them, Smiles became weapons, laughter became threats. And every time I caught a glimpse of my cousin, my chest tightened like a vice, that smirk, that disbelief. I hated them and feared them at the same time. The recordings became my lifeline, my quiet rebellion against a world that wouldn't see my truth. I watched, I collected. I built a record of reality, piece by piece. Late one night, staring at the blinking light of my phone, an idea began to form, fragile, delicate, but alive. If no one would believe me, then the truth would have to speak for itself. I didn't smile, didn't breathe easy, didn't feel relief, but somewhere deep down, a plan was taking shape. A plan to take back the power that had been stolen from me. And for the first time in weeks, I felt a spark, a small, stubborn spark. It wasn't hope, not yet, but it was something like it. Something dangerous, something necessary, something that would make them pay attention. I never wanted to admit it, not even to myself, that I needed help. You can just carry this alone, my best friend said one afternoon, voice low but firm. You need proof, something they can twist or deny. I shook my head. Proof. I don't even know if I have it. Everything sets in my head. Memory isn't set enough, they said. They laughed at you. You need something solid. I stared at them. The anger in their eyes mirrored the storm in mine. And if I find it, what then? Do I just shove it in their face? Maybe, they shrugged. Or maybe you finally take back control. Your story. Your life. Their words echoed in my mind long after they left. That night I dug through my old files, my phone, anything that might matter. Hours passed, and I was about to give up when something stopped me cold. A recording. My hands shook as I pressed play. The voice of my abuser filled the room, harsh, unmistakable, confessing everything. My chest tightened. My stomach turned. I had forgotten this existed, forgotten that somewhere, buried in the past, the truth was waiting. I did it, the voice said. Everything they say is true. I froze. I listened again, and again. Every word cut through the years of shame, disbelief, and silence. I thought of my cousin. I thought of their smirk, the laughter when I stumbled over my words, the cold shrug that made me feel smaller than I ever had. I typed a message. I found it, I have proof. Do you want to see? The reply came almost instantly. Haha, good luck convincing me. You always overreact. I slammed my phone down. Rage boiled inside me. Betrayal, anger, indignation. How dare they mock me, after everything? I could feel the heat in my chest, the sharp edge in my hands. This wasn't just about proving the abuse anymore. It was about the cousin who chose disbelief over loyalty, who chose ridicule over empathy. I took a deep breath, tried to calm the storm, but beneath the surface fire raged. I started thinking strategically, not recklessly, not in blind anger. Subtle, precise, measured. If I confronted them directly, they'd deflect. They always did, but the truth, the undeniable truth, could corner them in ways words never could. I considered my options. Timing, method, audience, every move mattered. Every reaction had to be anticipated. Are you okay? My best friend asked the next day. I sat him thinking, I said. I sat him plotting, slowly, carefully. This isn't set and just about proving them wrong. It's set about reclaiming what they tried to take from me. Their eyes widened. You serious? I nodded, more than ever. I've been patient. Too patient. Now it's time to act. Fear flickered briefly, tiny, sharp like ice. But it didn't stop me. I embraced it. Let it sharpen my mind, focus my anger. I practiced conversations in my head. Imagined the smirk fading. Imagined the mockery dying in their eyes. My heart pounded at the thought. And then I realized, I had underestimated my own strength. For the first time, I felt the line between helplessness and power, between shame and control, between being silenced and being heard. I would expose them, quietly, ruthlessly, without anyone noticing until it was too late. And my cousin would finally understand the cost of disbelief. I let the recording play once more, voice filling the empty room. My hands clenched into fists, rage, determination, fear, all tangled inside me. This was it, the catalyst. No more hiding, no more silence. The plan was forming, fragile, intricate, unstoppable. And when it unfolded, they would see me, really see me. The me they tried to erase. The me they mocked. The me they never believed. I smiled, just a fraction, dark, quiet, knowing. I was ready. I sat cross-legged on the floor, my laptop open, my phone recording the clock ticking on the wall. This has to be perfect, I muttered to myself. You stir obsessing, my best friend said, leaning against the doorframe. But it says good obsessing means you care. I can mess this up, I said. If I slip even a little, it all falls apart. The proof, the message, everything. You won stet, they said. We sef got the recordings. We sef rehearsed. You sef are ready? I didn't feel ready. Not yet, but I wanted to feel it. I wanted the fear, the adrenaline, the control to fuel me. I practiced my words aloud, voice low, clipped. You can deny this. You can laugh it off anymore. My reflection in the mirror watched me, smirk fading into seriousness. Eyes sharp, hands steady. I imagined my cousin's face, the disbelief, the smug superiority, and then the shock, the helplessness when the truth hit. You still see, I whispered, more to my reflection than to myself. You still finally see. Have you thought about objections? My friend asked, pacing. They still try to twist everything. They always do. I nodded. Every single one. I anticipated it. Every word, every pause, every look they might throw at me. I have it covered. You stir. Scary focused, my friend said, shaking their head. In a good way. I allowed a small smile. Focused but human. Afraid but in control. That was the balance I needed. I rehearsed the plan like a tightrope walk. Step 1, get them alone, in front of witnesses. Step 2, play the recording at the exact right moment. Step 3, stay calm while they flail, deny, deflect. Step 4, watch the truth hit, undeniable, and savor the realization on their face. What if they walk out? My friend asked. They won sit, I said, more confidently than I felt. Not if I control the moment. Not if I set it up right. And I will set it up right. Every detail mattered. Every nuance. Timing, tone, body language. I practiced in front of the mirror again. Voice steady, eyes locked on my reflection. This ends now. No more lies. No more smirks. No more disbelief. You sound unstoppable, my friend, said softly. Good, I muttered. Because I have to be. I can afford to falter. One mistake and it all crumbles. I imagined my cousin laughing, brushing it off. I imagined my own rage rising, hands clenched, heart racing, and then the recording played, sharp and undeniable. Their smirk faltering, eyes widening, mouth opening, but no words coming out. I pictured every expression, every twitch of their face, and let myself feel it. Sweet, cold, just, you see me, I whispered again, voice low but steady. Really see me. The truth won't be ignored this time. The fear lingered, but it didn't paralyze me. It sharpened me, made every heartbeat louder, every breath more deliberate. I was walking a line between vengeance and control, and I was ready. I reviewed the plan one last time. Entry, confrontation, undeniable proof, exit. Everything had contingencies. Every possible counter accounted for. Let's do this, my friend said, finally smiling. No more waiting. I nodded, feeling a surge of empowerment pulse through me. This wasn't just about evidence anymore. This was about reclaiming my voice, about forcing accountability, about taking back the pieces of myself my cousin thought they could dismiss. I looked in the mirror one last time. Eyes steady, shoulders squared, breath calm, rage and determination coiled inside me like a spring, ready to strike. The moment to act was near. And when it came, there would be no doubt. No excuses. No hiding. I was ready. I felt my heart hammer in my chest as I walked into the living room. Everyone was there. Family, cousins, aunts, uncles, all laughing, talking, pretending the world was normal. I didn't yet feel normal. My palms were slick with sweat. My hands shook. Every step toward the center of the room felt like walking across a tightrope over fire. There they were. My cousin, smug, confident, smiling, like nothing had ever happened. Hey, they said casually, glancing at me. That smirk, That haunted my nightmares. I stopped in front of them, took a deep breath. "We need to talk," I said, voice steady, quieter than I felt. "About what?" they asked, tilting their head, mocking, casual, oblivious to the storm I carried inside. "About everything," I said. My thumb hovered over the play button on my phone. "Everything you said you didn't set believe." They laughed. A short, sharp laugh. Oh, here we go. Another drama session. I ignored the laugh. Pressed play. The recording started. My abuser's voice filled the room. Every confession, every admission I'd almost forgotten, played loud and clear. For a moment, the room was quiet, like the air itself was holding its breath. My cousin's eyes widened. Their smirk faltered. Their body froze. "No, this isn't real," they whispered, barely audible. "Yes," I said, voice low, icy, "it's steps real, and you laughed at me. You called me a liar, you mocked me, right here in front of your family, you chose disbelief over loyalty, you chose ridicule over empathy." Gasps echoed around the room. Some family members put hands over their mouths, others recoiled, eyes wide, unable to process. Some cried softly. "Stop it! Stop this!" my cousin shouted, panic threading through the words. I held up my phone. "No, stop denying it. You mocked me for years. And now, you have to hear it. You have to feel it. You have to see the truth." Memories surged, every hurtful word, every sneer, every cold shrug. My chest tightened, rage and heartbreak mingled in a bitter, potent mix. You're making a scene," my cousin stammered, voice shaking. "No," I said. "I am reclaiming my voice. I am standing here while you finally face what you refuse to see. The evidence doesn't stet lie. The truth doesn't stet lie. And neither do I." Some relatives shifted uncomfortably. Some looked at me with awe. Others stared at my cousin, the disbelief fading from their eyes. My cousin began, faltering, grasping for words. This isn't set fair." "No," I interrupted. "Calm now. Ice cold calm. It's not fair that I carried this alone. It's not fair that you mocked me, but life isn't always fair. Icep's none waiting for you to admit the truth. Icep's none waiting for anyone else to fix it for me. Icep's none doing it myself." The recording continued, relentless, undeniable, every word a dagger to my cousin's pride, every admission a hammer on the wall of denial they built. I could feel my pulse in my temples. Triumph coursed through me, but so did a bitter sorrow. This was victory, yes, but it was also a wound I'd nursed for too long. Tears welled in the eyes of some family members. Aunts whispered softly to each other. Uncles shook their heads, muttering under their breath. And my cousin? They slumped into a chair, face pale, hands trembling. The smirk was gone, the laughter extinguished, the disbelief replaced by something raw, fear, shame, realization. I felt the rush of power, but I also felt my own heart ache. Years of betrayal, disbelief, and humiliation all condensed into this one room, this one moment. You tricked me," my cousin said finally, voice broken. "No tricks," I said. "Just the truth. Something you refused to see when it mattered." I turned to the family, voice steady but carrying the weight of everything I endured. I been silent for too long, and I let people like them make me doubt myself. Not anymore. Not ever again. The room was still heavy, thick with shock, grief, relief, and vindication. I put my phone down, hands unclenched, breath finally steadying. I had done it. But even as the adrenaline faded, a lingering fear remained, fear that this exposure would fracture relationships, change perceptions, even destroy bonds I still cared about. Yet I didn't regret it. Because finally I had taken my narrative back. Finally, the cousin who doubted me, who mocked me, who dismissed my pain, had nowhere to hide. And for the first time in years, I felt a strange mixture of triumph and release. The weight lifted slightly from my shoulders. The air felt lighter, though the emotional intensity was almost unbearable. I had confronted disbelief. I had forced truth. And the echo of that confrontation would linger far longer than their smug confidence ever did. The room was a storm. Some faces were pale, mouths open, eyes wide, others whispered softly to each other, shaking their heads. A few cried, and my cousin was a different kind of mess. I didn't They started stammering, hands waving. You start making this bigger than it is. Bigger? I echoed, voice low but cutting. Bigger? You laughed at me. You mocked me. You refused to believe me. And now, you start finally facing the truth. They froze, eyes darting, searching for a friendly face. An ally, anyone. It's Stitz. I mean, I didn't know. You didn't want to know, I snapped. Rage mingled with exhaustion. My chest tightened, but I held my ground. You chose disbelief. You chose ridicule. Every word I said, every tear I shed, it was meaningless to you until now. And now, I let the words hang, sharp and heavy. Some relatives murmured in agreement. Others looked unsure, processing. One aunt leaned forward. I remember that time. Something similar happened. I didn't say anything then. Her voice shook. I'm sorry I didn't speak up. Another cousin nodded. Me too. I thought I imagined it. I didn't want to get involved. The pieces began to fall. A puzzle I hadn't even known I'd been constructing in silence. Their doubt, their silence, their mockery, it all had cracks now, fractures slowly widening. My cousin Sep's face drained of color. Their voice became tight. Stop it, you supper embarrassing me. No, I said. Calm now. Cold. You embarrassed yourself years ago. This is just a reflection, a mirror, and it's Sep's showing everyone who you really are. I could feel the tension coiling inside me. Triumph, relief, yet a bitter weight lingered. Family, fractured, alliances shifting. Loyalty tested. My reputation. They began, panic rising. Your reputation? I interrupted, voice low but hard. Your reputation is what you chose it to be, and now it steps your choices. Everyone sees, not mine. Not the truth I finally shared. Yours. Whispers turned to murmurs. Some family members shook their heads in disbelief. Others looked at me with quiet admiration. My cousin tried to speak, tried to defend themselves, but the words stumbled, empty, inadequate. I didn't mean it like that, they cried. Intent doesn't erase the consequences, I said. Every word you dismissed, every action you ignored, every smirk, it steps all here, and now people see it. All of it. I felt a subtle shift in the room. My cousin slumped, shoulders heavy, eyes darting for escape that didn't exist. Their smirk gone, their laughter silent, their power fractured. A distant relative muttered, I wish I stayed known sooner. I could feel the mix inside me, vindication, sweet, but laced with sorrow, family fractured, bonds strained, memories dredged up, the emotional toll pressed on my chest. I'd exposed the truth, I'd taken control, but it wasn't without cost. Some relatives turned to me, eyes soft, supportive. Thank you, one whispered. For being brave. I nodded, voice catching. I didn't do it to hurt anyone, I did it to speak my truth, to reclaim my life, to stop the lies. The room shifted. Conversations buzzed in fragmented chaos. My cousin tried to respond, stumble over words, but I didn't give them the attention. They'd had their chance to believe. They'd chosen disbelief. And now, the fallout. A quiet, bittersweet satisfaction settled inside me, watching selfish choices unravel, seeing the smirk replaced by shame and panic, knowing that truth finally carried weight. I looked around. Family fractured, yes, but the fractures revealed honesty, courage, and the complex layers of loyalty. Pain mingled with relief. Betrayal mingled with understanding. And me? I felt the power of my own voice, the strength in telling the truth, the weight of vindication, heavy but necessary. Some doors had closed, some wounds reopened, but for the first time the narrative was mine, fully, unshakably, undeniably mine. The cousin who doubted me, mocked me, and dismissed my pain, could no longer hide behind lies. And I could finally breathe. My phone rang late that night. The screen flashed their name, my cousin. I stared at it. My thumb hovered. Part of me wanted to ignore it. Part of me wanted to answer, and finally hear the words I never thought I'd hear. I swiped. Hello? My voice was cautious, low, guarded. I need to talk, they said, voice trembling, hesitant, vulnerable, yet still prideful, human, selfish, flawed. Go ahead, I said, leaning back in my chair, heart hammering. I was wrong, they whispered. I should have believed you. I said I'm sorry. I laughed softly, bitterly. Sorry? After everything? You think a word can erase years of disbelief? Years of mocking me? I know, they admitted, voice tight. I know I can stet undo it. I needed to say it. To let you know, I regret it. Regret. That word. Heavy. Slow, true. I sat in silence, letting it hang in the room, in the night, in my chest, memories of their smirk, their laughter, their cold disbelief replayed, every flash of pain they caused, every moment I doubted myself because of them. You don't suck, get it, I said finally, voice low. You had power over me for years. You chose to mock me instead of support me. You chose to deny the truth. And now you feel the weight of that choice. I know, they said again, trembling. I hath and undo it. But I wanted you to hear me say it. Their voice broke. I sips, I'm sorry. I could feel a strange mix inside me. Anger, empathy, sadness, vindication, rage coiled quietly beneath the surface. They were human, they were flawed, and yes, they were finally facing it. You think saying sorry fixes anything? I asked. You think that fixes what you broke inside me? You think it changes the years of doubt, the isolation, the shame? No, they said quietly. It doesn't, Stet, I know it doesn't, Stet. But I needed you to hear it, and maybe one day you can forgive me. I exhaled, slow, deliberate. The anger lingered, coiling like a dark spring, but I also felt something else. Relief, closure, recognition. The power had shifted. Not back to them, not yet, but to me. Forgive you? I said, letting a small, cold laugh escape. You realize forgiveness doesn't steady erase what you did. And honestly, I'm not sure it ever will. But hearing this, it validates my experience. That sep's all I need. There was a pause, a quiet tension over the line. I understand, they said finally, voice small. I really do. I felt my chest tighten, memories of disbelief, of laughter turned sharp, of every dismissive word they all surged, but I let them pass. I didn't argue, I didn't strike back, I just listened. You sir finally seeing it, I whispered. Finally you understand, but it seeps too late to change what happened, too late to erase the scars, and that seeps the truth you sir have to live with. Yeah, they said, quiet, vulnerable, human, fragile. I can set change the past, but I see it now. I leaned back, gripping the phone loosely. Rage had softened into clarity. Years of doubt, disbelief, and silence had forged something inside me, a quiet, unshakable strength, the power to tell my truth, to hold my boundaries, to reclaim my life. I hear you, I said finally, and that sep's enough, not for you, but for me. You can regret it, you can apologize, but the only thing that matters now is that I own my story, fully, and nothing you do or undo can take that away. I thank you, they whispered, voice trembling. I hung up. The room was silent. The night outside my window stretched endlessly, calm, but inside me, something had shifted. The helplessness, the shame, the doubt, they were gone, replaced by sovereignty. I had faced the antagonist. I had heard their regret. I had felt their vulnerability. And I had survived it, thrived through it. The power was mine. And the scars were mine too. But they no longer weighed me down. They reminded me of pain endured. Truth revealed, strength reclaimed. I smiled, small, dark, resolute. The journey wasn't over, but the narrative was finally mine. I called my best friend first. Are you ready? They asked, voice steady but curious. I am, I said. I said rehearsed, I said planned, now it's Sep's time. We arrived quietly, slipping into the familiar gathering of close family, small smiles, cautious glances, the air thick with tension and anticipation. You really think they're ready to hear it? My friend whispered. They have to, I said, eyes scanning faces. Truth doesn't wait for readiness. It doesn't negotiate. I cleared my throat. I need to say something, I began, voice calm but carrying the weight of years, something I should have said a long time ago. Aunts leaned forward. Cousins quieted. Even my mother, who'd always sensed my silence, looked up with anticipation. Iceps lived with disbelief, I said, with people laughing at what I endured. Iceps carried shame that wasn't spist mine to bear. And I finally have the proof, not to punish anyone, but to reclaim my voice. A murmur rippled through the room. My cousin shifted uncomfortably in the corner, face pale, avoiding eye contact. Proof? One relative asked softly. Yes, I said, holding my phone like a talisman. Proof that I was never lying. Proof that I survived. Proof that truth, even if ignored, has power. I played a short excerpt of the recording. The voice, clear and undeniable. Every confession, every admission. Silence. Thick, tangible silence. My cousin started, voice small, faltering. Dawn set, I interrupted gently but firmly. Not yet, let this sink in first. Years of denial, doubt, and mockery, all undone by the truth you refused to see. Faces turned toward my cousin, some shocked, some pensive, some quietly nodding, acknowledging what they'd suspected but never confirmed. Thank you, my mother whispered to me, for speaking, for being brave. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. It wasn't easy, but it had to be done. I looked at my cousin again, smugness gone, pride diminished, vulnerability bleeding through the cracks they'd long ignored. I didn't gloat, I didn't need to. The moment itself, watching truth land, watching the consequence settle, was enough. I am sorry, they murmured finally, voice small, humbled. I didn't see it. You didn't I said softly, and that step's on you. But now, the story is mine, and I reclaimed it. My best friend squeezed my shoulder. You did it, they whispered. Yes, I said. I did, but not just for me, for everyone who doubted, for everyone silenced, for every moment of shame forced onto me unfairly. This is closure. We spent the rest of the gathering speaking quietly, selectively, carefully, sharing pieces of the story with those who mattered, those I trusted. Their reactions varied, tears, hugs, small nods of understanding, but each one reinforced what I already knew: my truth was real. My voice reclaimed. I caught my reflection in a window, eyes tired but sharp, scars visible, yes, but acknowledged, honored, transformed into strength. I let myself smile, dark and small, satisfied. Later, my cousin left the room quietly, head down, humbled. Public consequences had begun. Private consequences would follow, and I had moved past anger into something more powerful: agency, sovereignty over my own narrative. A flashback hit me years ago, sitting alone, replaying disbelief, self-doubt gnawing at me. That scared, small version of myself. I looked at them now in the mirror of my mind and whispered, "You made it. You survived." "You survived," my friend echoed softly. "Yes," I said, taking a deep breath. "And now, I thrive." We left the gathering together, stepping into the night air, quiet, calm, but carrying the electric hum of victory, not revenge as cruelty, not exposure as malice, but reclaiming dignity, reclaiming truth, reclaiming life. I felt the power of preparation, courage, and unwavering honesty settle inside me. Truth doesn't bend, truth doesn't falter, and when wielded with purpose, it liberates. I thought of every skeptical face, every smirk, every dismissive word, and I realized the real triumph wasn't in proving them wrong. It was in reclaiming myself. The narrative was mine. The scars were mine. The story finally fully, undeniably mine. And for the first time in years, I felt complete. The house was quiet. Too quiet, at first. I sat at the kitchen table, tea cooling in my mug, and just breathed. The weight I'd carried for years, the doubt, the fear, the betrayal, it wasn't gone, but it had changed shape. Lighter, sharper, controlled. My mother came in, soft smile, eyes warm. "You've changed," she said. I nodded, voice low. "I had to. Survive, you know." She placed a hand on mine. Always known your strength. But this is something else." I allowed myself a small smile, dark but sincere, as been learned to trust my own voice. That's the real power. She looked at me, a flicker of pride and worry mixed in. "And your cousin?" I exhaled slowly. They scepter learning consequences the hard way. I don't scepter need to revisit it. My victory isn't scepter cruelty. It scepters truth. My voice. My life. Later, my best friend and I walked through the park. Leaves rustled underfoot. The air was crisp, almost cleansing. Feels peaceful, they said. It does, I agreed. But it seps not peace from forgetting. It seps peace from knowing, from standing tall, from owning every scar, every memory, every piece of pain, and letting it make me unshakable. They nodded. You have come far, not just in action, but inside. I looked out at the lake, sunlight catching the ripples, reflections danced on the water, fragmented, shifting. I rebuilt, relationships that matter, distanced myself from toxicity, learned who deserves my time, my energy. I chosen myself. Flashbacks crept in, brief but vivid, sitting alone replaying ridicule and disbelief. The smirk of my cousin, the empty silence of family gatherings, the hours of planning, the careful strategy, every tremor of fear, every spark of anger, every calculated step toward truth. And I survived it all, I murmured. I thrived through it. We stopped on a bench. My best friend leaned back. Yusef changed the narrative, not just for you but for everyone who needed to see it, for everyone who couldn't speak. I let the words settle.
Yes.
And it isn't said about them anymore. It's said about me. The letter I wrote, it wasn't said about for them. It's said about's for me. My victory, my documentation, my reminder that silence doesn't instead it outlast forever. Truth reshapes lives. Irrevocably. Pulling the folded letter from my bag, I reread it silently, lines etched with pain, triumph, clarity, no anger, just acknowledgement, ownership, subtle warning, the power of reality, laid bare. You said you're unshakable, my friend said quietly. I nodded, and I intend to remain that way. Scarred, yes, but strong, wiser, unbroken, and aware, always aware of the truth's weight. The sun shifted behind a cloud, casting shadows that danced across the pavement. I watched them move, and in the pattern I saw myself, solid, present, unyielding, a person forged through fear, betrayal, rage, and empowerment. Later I returned home. My mother was reading in the living room. I sat beside her, letting the silence stretch comfortably, not awkward, not heavy, just complete. You're really free now, she whispered. I am, I said. Not from the past, not from the scars, but from the chains of silence, doubt and other people's disbelief. That freedom, it steps mine. Finally, I thought of my cousin one last time, their regret, their humbled state, their lessons. I felt no need for vengeance, no need for continued confrontation. They had seen the truth, the consequences had spoken, and I had transcended it all. Night fell, stars pierced the dark sky. I stood at my window, city lights flickering below. My reflection stared back, a figure steady, controlled, victorious, every scar visible, acknowledged yet not burdening, every memory present, yet not defining. I whispered to myself, soft but firm, I survived, I endured, I claimed my life, my story, my power, and nothing can undo that. The wind lifted, brushing across my face. Quiet, peaceful, resolute. I smiled, dark and small, yet unshakable. Victory wasn't loud. It wasn't cruel. It was quiet. It was mine. And I was rising beyond fear, beyond betrayal, beyond doubt. Finally wholly, myself.